Welcome to another episode of Wat with me, Willem Welsyn, a humble little podcast show that I record and produce out of my living room in Durbanville every week for my Afrikaans chommies and my bi-curious bilingual brasse. If you're an English-speaking person and a first-time listener with no grasp or grammar of the Afrikaans language, welcome, and please make yourself at home and feel free to fast forward about 5 minutes into this episode because obviously you clicked the link to listen to my conversation with this week's guest, Mr. João Luis Lança Henriques, the multi-instrumental madman from bands like We Set Sail and Julia Robert and many more. The back-to-back English intros. Last week we had Donnie Tritter. I'm going to switch to Afrikaans now. So welkom weer eens by nog 'n episode van Wat met my Willem Welsyn. Jammer as hierdie episode 'n bietjie laat is. Die lewe en 'n besige skedule het my bietjie lastig geval hier voor die Paasnaweek. Maar ek hoop jy is veilig terug na die lang naweek en dankie dat jy ingeskakel het. Ek het 'n heerlike gesprek gehad met my gas, meneer João Luis Lança Henriques. Dit was so lekker en lank dat ek besluit het om dit op te deel in 2 episodes. João is 'n gitarist en hy's 'n bassist en hy's oorspronklik van Portugal, maar hy het groot geword in Mozambique en na skool in Kaapstad kom woon. Hy's een van die mees passievolste musikante en musiekliefhebbers wat ek al ooit teëgekom het. En soos ek nou vir julle ken, wat nou gereeld na hierdie show luister, skiem ek julle gaan hierdie gesprek baie geniet. So hou jou pen en papier gereed om van die bands en die references en die genres wat João kwytraak, om dit neer te skryf en te gaan om dit te gaan uitcheck, want die man hy's 'n bron van inligting. Is altyd lieflik om met passievolle musiekliefhebbers te gesels en musikante. Hy's obviously ook 'n musikant. As jy elke week luister na hierdie show en jy geniet wat ek doen hierso en jy voel jy wil of jy kan iets bydra tot die Wat podcast, gebruik asseblief die PayPal link daarso in die episode se description of gaan na watpod.podbean.com as jy sommer net straight te EFT wil skiet. Want ek moes nou nie meer 8 to 6 werk nie, ek kan hierdie show wat ek nou elke week bou slegs lewe op julle genade. So dankie aan die luisteraars soos Jacques Visser, W. de Meyer, Robert Thompson, Saska, Pedri, Johan, Marcus de Beer, Marna en Marlies en wat se naam, Werner Greef. Luister so baie dankie vir julle wat altyd iets deurskiet, ek waardeer dit moer baie. Elke bietjie help en sedert ek hierdie podcast begin het hierdie jaar, weet ek daar so plus minus 1000 van julle wat elke week luister. So as net 'n handjievol van julle kan iets bydra elke week, kan ons nou aanhou om hierdie show vir jou te doen elke week. So gaan na watpod.podbean.com vir EFT details of gebruik sommer net die PayPal link in die episode se description. En onthou, as jy wil hê ek moet vir jou 'n advertensie uitlees, dan doen ek dit vir next to nothing. So stuur net vir my e-mail na williamwelfare@gmail.com. Subscribe op my William Welfare channel op YouTube. Subscribe op Spotify, op Apple en op enige ander plek waar jy luister, want hoe meer nommers hoe beter. Ek voel en ek weet wat ek doen hierso is belangrik en ek kan dit sonder jou hulp doen nie. So ek waardeer dit. Okay, kom ons luister na my gesprek met João. Nou hierdie is deel 1 van 2 en ek gaan vir jou volgende week deel 2 gaan ek hom vir jou publiseer en vir jou post sodat jy die ander deel kan luister, want het was 'n lange en hy's bevange, so toe knip ons hom in die helfte. So 2 for the price of 1. Al vat hy. Hier kom 'n gesprek met João. Geniet. João, I don't actually know what you do for a living during the day. What do you do? Oh, you're an architect.
I am an architect.
I do know.
Yes, you do. Well, you remembered, yeah. But I mean, I haven't been an architect for a while, and I only just sort of got back in the game.
Okay.
Between 2022 to late last year, I was in the film industry.
Okay.
Because, like Cape Town's got a booming sort of Netflix industry, TV series and films and stuff. So I rode that wave for 3 years. And it's now in a bit of a pit.
But what did you do while working in the film industry?
So it was like a skills transfer. So I was in the art department as a set designer. So drawing plans, sections, elevations, 3D models. And then they trust you to, I guess, having an architectural degree, they trust you to kind of know how to put a building together visually or have an idea of the history of architecture and then how that lends itself to a setting in a Wild West series. I did a short stint with Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And but I didn't do anything architectural there except like draw up wagons, like these old school wagons.
That must have been a fun exercise to doing that.
Well, in the rain, in a farm, with like sort of with gumboots, character building, as they say, character building. But then there were other things like I managed. I guess I can say now because it's been released. I also worked as a set designer in the latest One Piece season that's come out. I don't know if you know what One Piece is.
I've heard about it, but I've seen like a trailer thing, but I didn't click.
Yeah, it's like a live action adaptation of an anime which is based on a manga, and it's a very popular manga. And there in One Piece, I got to design a boat, a ship rather, sort of Japanese in styled architecture, medieval castle, throne rooms. Yeah.
And if you design stuff like that, do you actually use like Revit, or would you use a different program?
God no. Revit is great because it's like it's very complete, it's very complex. It's not very design friendly. If you want to like sort of quickly get
just
some
for
idea.
Listeners out there, that's what a lot of architects use Revit.
Absolutely,
that's the design software that they use to.
It's one of many. It's one of the most prevalent ones at the moment. And then there's another one which I'm sure many of your listeners will be aware of, which is SketchUp.
Oh yes, yeah. I know SketchUp. Yeah,
and SketchUp is in the film industry actually the go-to. It's very light to operate, and you can do a lot. And you don't need special programs. Like SketchUp is a relatively cheap program, and I still use it in architecture. Like today, I was using it. And so so late last year, I found my way back into architecture, and in a way, I'm kind of sad to see the film thing in the rearview mirror because I was having a lot of fun, but it's going through a drought at the moment. And one needs to make some money.
It's very inconsistent.
Well, I mean, as the freelance industry and those things are, yes. However, prior to the pandemic, it was just printing money. Like what they call tentpole productions, which is like, as you can imagine, visually it refers to a large production. We had like maybe 5-6 in Cape Town a year. And for the past 3 years, it's been like 1-2. Okay. And then all the other smaller productions have also kind of fizzled out. I mean, we don't have to get into that, and hopefully we want to, but it's some...
we don't have to, because you know what? I want to go way back.
Let's go way back.
João, the first time that I became aware of you, I think it was when you were playing in Wiset Sail.
Yes.
And then Gerard Gertje Grobler. That was his first full-length album that he recorded.
That's right.
And I remember at the
Platinum
excitement.
Studios,
at Platinum Studios, yes.
Back then.
And he actually built those studios, and
we
literally
saw it go up, as you did.
Yeah. And I remember him being so excited because he always wanted to do a full-length album, and that album was spectacular. It still stands for me as well, up until this day. Before we get to Wiset Sail, I want to go way back. Where did you grow up?
So let's go way back. So I was born in Portugal.
Okay.
And in about 85, my family, mom, dad, and myself moved to Mozambique. And I grew up in Mozambique, in Maputo to be precise, until I was 19. So that was about 2000, 2001. And then I moved to Cape Town.
That is a first on the podcast. Somebody who was born in Portugal, grew up in Mozambique.
Ticking all the boxes.
What year were you born?
82.
82.
Yeah.
So I'm an 84 baby, so you've got 2 years on me. So you were 3 years old when you guys moved.
Absolutely.
Do you have any obviously you were like 3, but do you have any memories of Portugal?
Well, I mean, of course I've been back many a time, even though I have not been back in 8 years, which is a travesty. I mean, as a kid, like when I was 3, like just very vague, very sort of foggy memories of Portugal then up until 3. But then, as I said, we used to go back every year.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, those memories, I grew up mostly in Mozambique, but then when summer holidays would pop around, we'd go to Portugal. And then that's where all 19,000 of my cousins, uncles, aunts, and so forth live. So then, and you travel and you go. And so I definitely had a foot in the culture, like let's say my original culture, at all times. But I mean, there's no way around it. I am a Southern African child.
Yeah, because you grew up for the most part here.
Absolutely.
How many siblings?
I've lived for the most part here.
How many siblings in your family?
I've got a sister, a younger sister.
So it's only a brother and a sister?
That's the two of us.
And what's her name?
Her name is Mafalda.
Mafalda. That's beautiful.
Mafalda. Mafalda.
Yeah, not to be confused with the with the th.
However, it's so funny that you would have said that, because Mafalda is the Portuguese equivalent
of Matilda.
Of Matilda.
Oh, there we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because it's Matilda is actually a name of Germanic origins, even though it does have an E in the end, it's Matilda, Mafalda. And because it's got a TH, a th is also a th if you think about it.
Okay.
So Mafalda, Matilda.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
And
always the cunning linguist, aren't you?
Oh, master debater.
Hey! Cheers.
Just to that. And what did your parents do in Portugal, and why did they move to Mozambique?
So they worked in it was sort of the equivalent of what an auditing company would do, something like Price Waterhouse, but it wasn't. It was a Portuguese company, and in the mid '80s, Mozambique had just sort of come off, or it hadn't been too long. It had been 10 years since the independence.
Yes,
and then at that point, our leader then, Samora, even though he was. It was a communist state, like many countries in Africa. There was like a huge Russian influence, and so a lot of Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, São Tomé, all these old Portuguese colonies were left-leaning, like firmly left. But Samora wanted to actually sort of do something new, where he didn't want to live isolated like Castro in Cuba. Like nothing. It's like we are self-sufficient, like this beacon of communism. He wanted to make a prosperous country. I think that was one of the reasons why maybe he was relieved of his existence shortly thereafter. But my folks moved there as part of a collaborative effort with the government to bring auditing, which is infrastructure, to any economy. Like Mozambique, Maputo then, there was very little happening.
Yeah.
Like very little happening. Like there's so many private businesses nowadays, It's a great place to go for a hustle. It's kind of manic, to be honest. You've been in Mozambique.
Yeah. Well, I only been to like Ponta de Oro,
But you get a whiff of the intensity of the province of Maputo, and like you'd think, you're in the nature and it's quite beautiful. There's this bubbling that's happening.
Yeah, it's very prevalent when you cross the border.
Absolutely.
And you move in there and you can just instantly feel you're in a different country. It's not like crossing the border and you go, okay, this is like an extension of Natal. It doesn't feel at all like that. Yeah. And I think that's the impact of the people themselves as well. Like when you cross the border, you just feel, oh wow, there's something else at work.
It's like Jumanji, you hear the drums.
It's exactly it's a fucking portal,
Oh, we're in Mozambique.
You gotta you cross the border, or like all of a sudden you just had 4 Dosh M's. You don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah. You're already smoking the local scafe, and you're like.
That's why I smoke Pall Malls, because of fucking Mozambique.
Yeah. Good luck to your lungs, sir. Oh,
thank you. I'll take it.
Can I have one?
No, you may. So your parents did that auditing for. Was it a government job?
Well, it was in association with a government job. It was it was like a private company, but obviously in association. But eventually, they're still there, and so they've had. That was just the beginning. They've had many jobs since then. My mom actually worked in auditing for a while longer, and then my dad did several management jobs here and there. and I studied at the Portuguese school of Maputo.
Okay.
So we had the Portuguese curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
which was a little bit odd because our summer
Mm-hmm.
holidays were the European summer holidays. So between June, July, August.
Was on the same calendar as the
Yeah.
Europeans.
So we'd have 3 months free, smack bang in the middle of Maputo winter,
Crazy.
and then 1 month in your 3 months break.
And if you think the weather is awesome in South Africa, or let's say in Natal, it is that times 100 when you go to Mozambique. It's the best weather ever. You must excuse my ignorance, because the only frame of reference that I have is going to Strab, like Ponta de Oro, which is actually that's not Mozambique, but
It's border.
It's borderline Mozambique. But the water, end of May, the water is warm and it's beautiful sunny days, and it's the evenings are cool, but it's not cold. It's fascinating. It's perfect holiday destination.
It's dreamy. It's dreamy. It's languid. It's I love going in either spring or autumn. There's no such thing, but those months that would be the equivalent of spring or autumn, because it's, as you say, the water is amazing. There's this balminess to the air, and it's kind of dreamy.
It's almost like that. It's like a clean humidity, if you know what I mean. It's not a sticky one; it's a fun one.
Yeah. hence dreamy. Hence dreamy. Yeah, absolutely.
If there's somebody that I like to talk about music with, that would be you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
Especially the past year and a half, when our paths were to cross. Me and you would wander off to a corner and wormhole on guitar solos or on tones and stuff like that. Absolutely. And we even jammed together. So you are that go-to guy, like a safe space, thank God Joao's here.
Yeah. There's a few of us in this group that we share. I
think Peter is one.
Peter is one. Jacques, of course. Donnie to a degree. I mean, I haven't had that sort of Lewis Carroll adventure with him yet.
With rugby, and it's the most random thing with him with rugby. If he opens his mouth and you're like, fuck, Donnie, how the fuck do you know every player that was selected in 1999 in the Sharks and in Western Province? He would know shit like that.
He's from Howick, isn't he? No, Pietermaritzburg.
No, he is from Richards Bay.
Richards Bay, exactly.
If I didn't know that, shame on me, because I had him on the show last week. I'm so glad I remembered that.
Yeah, good on you. And apologies, Donnie, if that's the case. The only reason why I say he's from Howick is that I've got a very good friend with whom I was in a band prior to We Set Sail, just before We Set Sail, a band called She-Man Lion.
She-Man Lion, that's a cool name.
Yeah, it was in the height of the electro punk and the little bit that it affected Cape Town. We were smack bang in the middle of that.
Okay, but name a few electro punk bands from Cape Town.
There was the see, now I don't remember any of them. No, I mean electro punk. We were electro punk adjacent, but I think, what is it? The Beams.
I remember the Beams. Yes,
the Beams. Yeah. They had an electro punk thing going on.
What about
the Wild Eyes? They weren't really electro punk, but they had electro punk.
Yeah.
I think there was a very short-lived band called the Vatican.
Cool name for a band.
Yeah. And they were leaning. They had an Interpol, but also a Killers thing going on, vibey, but kind of drony, and they dressed up smart,
The Hives, Franz Ferdinand kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now I'm at a loss for words as to the
We'll get back to that one, because my question was basically leading up to this, and that is, when you were a little boy, can you remember the first time you came online with regards to music? What song did you hear that made a big impression on you? What's your memory of your first piece of music that actually made you go, oh, I like this?
Okay, so I think there's a little caveat. my parents, they have a ginormous discography. Like, they have so much music. And my father in particular, he still has vinyls that he's like from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
We still have it in a huge trunk. Like, I can't wait to dip into that. That's in Portugal. That's for a later thing. But all this to say that both myself and my sister, she is 7 years my junior, but ever since we were kids, music was like ubiquitous in the house. Like, it was always playing, and like huge variety. I mean, we could go, it could go from ECM jazz to, Baroque, and then Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Oh yeah, Bachman Turner Overdrive. My parents had that as well. Yeah.
My dad's a huge Lou Reed nut.
Yeah.
Also, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah.
Neil Young in particular. I mean, I couldn't start to even mention the amount of things that we were exposed to when we were kids. I think, though, I'm trying to. I mean, I think there are many moments, but I can tell you.
What's the first random song that comes to mind?
I've got a moment for you.
Mm.
So it was. There's a rock song, but like sort of a classic rock song. And what's that guy? He's since now he's passed. He was a great guitarist.
Chris Rea.
No. British guy. Chris Rea passed away recently, right?
Yeah.
No. He must have passed maybe 10 years ago. Friday on My Mind.
Mm.
Parisian Walkways. I
know what you're doing. Gary Moore.
Gary Moore.
There's
Okay, it was a Gary Moore song. And mind you, at this point, I'd not heard it all, but I'd heard like so much music, like music was a huge thing. And I think it was the first time where I was like, what is this guitar solo? And why every time I listen to it, it makes me air guitar. And I didn't even have a guitar then.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and I don't even remember the song really well, but I just remember it was Gary Moore, and it wasn't even like a shred. It wasn't like a blistering solo.
It was most probably like a deep cut, like a.
It was just so chunky, and I was just like, this. I think what you're asking me is like the moment.
Yes.
It's like music moves me, and you acknowledge that.
Exactly.
That's a very guitar-centric moment with music.
Yeah, but I think when music moves you for the first time like that, it's got a lot to do with melody, and that's where solo is the torchbearers of melodies. Like I remember hearing when I got online. I think it was either. It was like Brothers in Arms from Dire Straits.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's very emotive.
Wow. Okay.
And then in the like midnight special
I could backtrack.
CCR, yeah.
I could backtrack and go to that one. But now that song, Brothers in Arms.
Yeah.
Because he does like the volume swell and sounds like slide at some points. And even though we all acknowledge Mark Knopfler as an amazing guitarist, I think he's even more amazing than people actually give him
exactly,
credit.
Because the thing is, when he's not singing, the guitar tells a bigger story. And I think that sounds like a cliche thing to say about a guitar player. But when it comes to him specifically, I think he stands on his own. I think maybe Brian May as well, where the guitar solo actually. Thank you for the feedback there on the tap.
Yeah.
where the guitar solo is actually really like singing something. It's not just a solo. It's part of the. Oh Jesus! What's happening with that fucking tap? It's just my neighbor. Can you hear that?
Yeah. What can we identify now?
Did I just harmonize with that?
Yeah, you did. This could be an E.
I think somebody's taking a shower upstairs.
It's possible.
Let's just sit in this for a moment. Oh, what a relief.
Yeah, it's like the feedback at the end of a solo, but in the studio. Because you're going to chop it. You're going to fade out of it. But you just have to hang it.
You see the engineer like rolling his fingers.
Yeah, exactly. Just and like your fingers are bleeding because there's no pressing any harder. and your ears are like taking a pummeling, but you're like, for the love.
Yeah, you basically hit space bar after you do your grunt of disgust and the pain in your fingers.
Yeah. Once the blood has been drawn.
But you know what I mean? The coming back to the melody, where it actually makes an imprint in your mind. Gary Moore is a perfect example of that. Like a hook or a melody that speaks to you, that gets ingrained, in the cells of your music mind.
Absolutely.
So, can you remember any other songs that made an impression like that?
Well, you just mentioned a huge one, and we all have to thank, because we're in the same generation, we all have to thank Wayne's World for this. And it's Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Fuck yes, yeah.
Because, again, I knew that song as a kid, and then they just made it so much cooler because of the context of the film.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you listen to it again, and you listen to Brian May's, definitely one of the best solos of rock and roll history that we know. The solo for that song.
Yeah.
And that was also with Gary Moore. It's like, oh, these aren't just notes. There's also a tone, and the tone is doing some things to me.
Yeah.
Also, we had a great sound system at home, so you just crank that mother.
Yeah.
And you just really feeling so that track, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Huge.
I was talking to...
Also, sorry, if I may, because...
Brian May.
Brian May. Definitely because of the solo and the "Do you think you can stone me and spit in my..." But the fact that song is in fact built with with 4 parts, I believe, right? And it's just like I think it was my first introduction to something that was prog. And that I was aware it was prog. It's like, hang on a second, these are various songs put together, but they're the same song. They tell the same story.
It's like I remember they were like cheesy. Like if you grew up in a small Afrikaans town like mine, there were like dances, like ballroom dances every weekend, and where the adults were windsurfing. Okay, And then they were like,
Socky.
Like Socky windsurfing vibes. And Smokey was a big hit there. You know?
Right.
Okay, like Living Next Door to Alice and Mexican Girl and that shit, okay? And then they actually had a fucking Smokey medley that they would pop on. And I remember listening to Bohemian Rhapsody and going, fuck, this is like a medley, but the other songs don't exist. They just decided to cut it up and put it in one song.
Yeah.
And I remember going, fuck, that's badass.
Yeah.
You know, so this
I
is
can
like
do that?
that's a reverse medley. So you don't the songs doesn't even have to exist for you to do this little. It was like a film. It's like it's a small play, but it's so emotive as well, and it takes you through so many emotions. That's the mindfuck of music, and after feeling that, and I was talking to somebody else on the podcast the other day about love songs that made me fall in love, but not on a specific person. Just like I'm in love right now. I don't know who it is, but I've got this feeling. It was like Everly Brothers, you know, like "Whoa, my love," or like
yes, absolutely,
or like
Unchained Melody.
Unchained Melody, yeah,
is actually like Unchained Melody. So my folks, they had a CD called Summer Slows, and you think, well, you know, it's like a slow dance album, but it was a lot of old classics like Unchained Melody. That song is very powerful, and if you've ever watched, obviously not live, not at least you and I, Elvis do it.
Oh yes, that was one of these final performances, like Fat Elvis dying.
That last one, it's both beautiful and heartbreaking because of all the things. Yeah. But
somebody's like holding the mic for him while he plays the piano, and he's sweating profusely.
It's almost like he's just shuffling the chords. It's just like I remember that. But Unchained Melody is like that's.
When did you pick up your first instrument?
Okay, therein lies a very, very funny story. It's so telling. So I got my first box acoustic, like an nylon acoustic, when I was 13, right? And I had not asked for it.
Yeah.
My folks, they had popped over to Joburg for, I don't know, they had to go there for a couple of things for like the weekend. And more often than not, whenever they would do that, my dad would bring me like a Mega Drive game,
Yeah.
like a video game.
Yeah.
Like very, you're 13, that's what I was into, video games, whatever. And one day they arrive, and I remember this like it was yesterday. It was Sunday. They come up the stairs, and they're like, hey. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, here comes a video game. I don't even know what it is. I don't surprise. And then my folks pull out from behind the doorway this guitar bag with a guitar bag. Ta-da! And it's ironic in hindsight. I could not hide the face of disappointment.
Oh, you were disappointed.
I was disappointed. But I wasn't my folks even tell me to this day, I wasn't like a horrible kid. I didn't throw a fit.
You were not a brat. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like very polite, and I was like, this is great. And then I sat with it. And then obviously, the guitar, as you well know, Willem, is one of the coolest and easiest instruments to socially sort of do something musical. But almost went walking there.
Did you just go the
walking there? But to actually cross to climb that first hill on guitar, get your first 4 chords, it's actually a bit of a hill.
Yeah, it's a big hill.
It's a big hill
because it's such an easygoing instrument. You can take it. It's very portable. You can take it everywhere. But to get something out of it and to make it sound fun, or just to get a melody out of it, is difficult. Whereas a piano, you can fuck it around for 5 minutes and get something out of a piano, but you can't take it anyway.
No.
That's like the catch-22.
That's
both
the catch-22.
Yeah.
So and they brought me a book.
Was it a nylon string?
It was a nylon string,
okay.
And it was a Hondo.
Yeah.
It was very nice. Run of the mill, very simple. It wasn't balsa, but it looked a little balsa-esque. Anyway, and I kind of sat on that guitar for about 1.5 years without doing anything because I just didn't like, and no one around me, none of my sort of peers, my classmates, no one was playing guitar. When would have this been? This would have been 95?
Yeah.
94, 95? And almost about 1.5 years later, suddenly there's all the sort of high school, older kids in my school, suddenly, as you all know, the southern tip of Africa would get all the cool stuff a couple of years later.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, all of these older kids in school, they're playing Nirvana, they're playing Stone Temple Pilots, they're playing Soundgarden. They're listening to other music, and now there's guitars popping off everywhere in the school grounds. Friends who got a guitar, they also don't know how to play, but they got
Remember
one.
the other day when we were at that Brian, and I told you that in that one Rolling Stone edition of 500 greatest guitarists, they had different guitar players. They would write and choose the guitarists.
Yeah.
That would be the 500 greatest. And Tom Morello, I think Kurt Cobain was up there in one of the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Morello wrote this awesome part, and that actually speaks to what you are telling me right now, where he goes, in a time where spandex and hairspray and big hair ruled the airwaves.
And shredding.
Yeah, and shredding, and people with arpeggios and a lot of music theory. Kurt Cobain with a flannel shirt walked out of a caravan and he gave the guitar back to the poets and the freaks.
Absolutely, I remember you saying that.
That's what happened. It sounds like with your town, because now the instrument is not. You don't have to be a fucking virtuoso.
No.
To play the instrument, you can actually now fuck around and get a song out of it, and it's most probably cooler than Guns N' Roses or Motley Crue or fucking Poison or Whitesnake or whatever,
Absolutely. I think part of Kurt giving the guitar back to the masses was kind of, even though, as we all know, that his writing was actually quite sophisticated. Yeah. His brain was very sophisticated. But all you needed was a power chord.
Yeah.
All you need, and history repeating itself. He got it from the Stooges and so forth, and blah, blah. And so suddenly, I was like, I just need to know a power chord. And I can sort of then that was the gateway, because then suddenly there were a couple of older kids at the school who were not into the alternative thing.
Yeah.
And they were into bossa nova, and a lot of people cringe when they hear bossa nova, and I don't mean to sound like I know a lot about bossa nova, but the people I learned from they approached it from like a much more sort of musical. It's not an elevator sort of soft music.
Yeah.
Like it's highly connected to bebop, and it's very complex as far as chords are concerned, and how you like. There's a lot of dissonance in bossa nova, and people are like, dissonance in bossa nova? It's like, yeah, motherfucker, there's a lot of dissonance in bossa nova. So suddenly, I just needed an entry point, and all of a sudden there's like a bunch over here, and that's power chords and like great like pop rock songs, and then on this end is like a couple older kids who are just like, no, like I didn't know the names then, but my fingers are now getting quite, a bit of a stretch, not just power chords, more chords, this and that. And like the moment the bug got, and I think it was 97 is the year I say, this is when I started playing guitar. And I'll say why. I went to London for a month for like a vacational study thing. Basically you go and you stay, like it's mostly international students.
While you were in high school?
Yes. So
that must have been fucking awesome.
It was. So it was like a summer vibe, and you go and you get people from all over the world, like literally all over the world, and you stay in what are these sort of British schools, like these beautiful older buildings. But then when they're vacant in summer, they cleverly make money by creating a summer experience for foreign students. And went, and I took my guitar, and there were a couple other guitars, and so like the fire was burning even more. And then did you meet more like-minded people there? I just want to get a sense of how your school setup was. It sounds like, were there like 20, 30 kids in a class? It was
like when you were in Maputo.
No. It would have been. It was bigger. It was graded in sort of knowledge of the language. So I was already quite well spoken in English at that point. So I was in a class that had less kids, and I mean, I'm not bragging, but we were just we're doing a little bit more advanced curriculum.
Please do.
And then there were like maybe 7 other classes. Everything from people with just bare bones English, and then every other sort of halfway point until. So I mean, it was great for me because I arrived and I could speak the language. Obviously, speaking a language is not speaking the language. This might sound funny, but you go to England and suddenly you're speaking to someone in English and you're like, I don't think I understand everything you're saying. Though you are speaking
just because you can understand oi.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't mean
exactly. So that was great. And in that vacation, after that vacation, my dad was like, so did you have fun? What was that? Oh yeah, I played a lot of guitar. And then we went to, I think it was like one of these mega stores. I don't remember this. They don't even exist anymore, mega stores. And my dad is also, other than buying music, my dad buys books by the metric fuck ton. So I was very fortunate growing up. So my dad's like, if you want music and books, I've got you.
Yeah.
And then we went to the shop and my dad's like, okay, where's the music book section? And I'm like, okay, all right. And we go and my dad's just like, okay, pick 5 books of music.
Yeah.
And like what, chord books, theory books, it doesn't matter. Just look at something you want and pick it. And then he said, but you need to take that one over there. And it was this massive A4 tome like this, the complete discography of the Beatles tabbed.
Oh, wow.
And I have it. And it's got like an embossed golden coin with the Fab Four on it.
That's cool.
So this book, and its publication was probably from 95. So I've got like this. Anyway, so
after we wrap this up, I want to show you some of my Beatles books.
Absolutely.
Because if there's a band to have books on, I think the Beatles are one of the best. Because
absolutely,
firstly, they're insane songwriters, and how they write songs. There's a reason why the Beatles are the Beatles.
Absolutely.
It's not just because of Obladi Oblada or because I Want to Hold Your Hand, which both are also great songs. There's so many songs, and they were only together for just so long. That's what makes it so special.
That still blows my mind.
Yeah.
But okay, so it was the Beatles, and then I had a chord book for Alanis Morissette.
No way, a chord book. I never thought they would do that.
It was like a thin little thing. It was Alanis. Alanis, because we know on the first name basis. Oasis. The Beatles book.
But how cool is that? Because Oasis must have just blown up then, you know?
Well, I mean, at that point,
or
it was the Be Here Now and
What's
Definitely Maybe. And What's the Story, Morning Glory, exactly. Isn't it called Definitely Maybe?
well, maybe.
Oh, yeah, definitely maybe. And so yeah, they hadn't. So yeah, it was fresh, and that really got me going.
Yeah.
And then soon after
because
that,
there you saw, like in those books, you would see chord changes. It's not just tabs to songs. I think that would be a great musical education.
well, chord boxes are a huge thing. I mean, like that. That's just the fact that it's maybe it works for me, like because it's visual, it's diagrammatic, it's dots in a box, and you just put that on the fretboard, and then suddenly like, oh my god, I can play Today is Gonna Be the Day.
Yeah.
Like, and it's 4 chords, and god damn it, some of the best chords ever put together.
But I wanted to know the kids that you played music with while going to that summer school. So did you meet more kids that you could relate to musically while there?
Definitely, especially because you meet a couple of kids who like they'll put you to shame. You think you know a couple of chords, and like they're doing basic pentatonic stuff, and you're like, oh my god, the shred was insane. So it was amazing because again, and this is often said, like the best way to become a better musician is to play with people who are better than you. And it was definitely that, you know, like there was this Hungarian guy, I forget his name now. It was a naughty little shit, but he was, I guess, me today and him 30 years ago, I would have put him in the bag.
Yeah.
But back then, he put me to shame, and I was just like, oh my god, I need to, like, I remember, Baby You Can Drive My Car was the first Beatles song I ever learned, and he taught it to me.
Yeah.
Because it does like a little shuffle, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, like a rock and roll with anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not a video podcast.
He's gesturing the rock shuffle with his fingers for the listeners out there.
Absolutely.
And the blind.
Exactly. And the blind. It's in the 3rd fret. It's the G. And I just remember thinking that. Oh, and then he also taught me Blackbird.
Oh wow!
And
I learned that like while I was when I got my Martin guitar, I learned that as an adult, where I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to learn something more complex now that I've got a more like a more expensive guitar.
Yeah.
And that is a fascinating song to. The other day I saw a clip of Paul McCartney, and he basically deconstructed, and he was like, this, I think it was like a Mozart melody.
Right.
That they took that from, and then he expanded on that, you know, where it came from. I think it's like a Mozart or one of these classical composers. It's like a...
that makes sense.
Yeah, so he taught you that, and you know what?
I mean, he taught me a version, but for me it was amazing because it was the mixture of finger picking and like all these beautiful shapes, which weren't obvious shapes.
No,
because often you're just dealing with like two notes being played and being fretted, but then you're playing finger picking around it with open notes.
And then you go so high up on the neck, you know, that's also a thing, you know.
Completely.
Where you think, oh, this is going to be my home base, you know, when you go closer to the headstock. And then you go with something like Blackbird, you're going, oh, so I can be doing stuff here and there with all the fingers. It's fascinating. But having a kid like that knows much more licks and songs and stuff, that's intimidating and daunting to see that, but it's also an inspiration of where, like, there's actually a place to go there.
Absolutely.
And you can, I remember having that effect on somebody where they didn't want to play guitar anymore. But I can remember the funniest thing was, like, I was the blonde guy with like fuzzy hair in school, and then while in high school, in comes a guy also with blonde hair, not so fuzzy but curly, also blue eyes, playing the guitar like a motherfucker. His name is Willem. Okay.
Right.
my name is William. Okay. So I wasn't Willem yet. Okay.
Right,
so
right.
My mom and my dad used to call me like Willem as a nickname. But in comes a real Willem. Okay?
Right.
And he shredded like a motherfucker.
Right.
I remember he had these long fingers, and what did he
Damn
show
them
me?
long finger people.
I think he showed me a few Zepp songs, and he showed me a few pentatonics and stuff. But I'll take him now. I'll fully take him. But he was the guy.
He was a catalyst.
He was a catalyst and an inspiration. And I remember he also had a classical background. I was wanting to ask you, having that Hondo classical guitar, finger picking was obviously a thing for you. It wasn't just like strumming and playing folksy stuff.
So absolutely, one of the things that I did in that sort of early discovering the guitar, even though I had it for about a year and a half where I didn't do anything with it, and all these other kids in school that were now picking up the guitar, I came to find out that there was a friend of my parents who played guitar incredibly well, and he was like on Saturday mornings, he just had like 5 kids over, not too far from where I lived. And he wouldn't even teach us what the guitar notes, whatever it was. He would literally tell us, put your finger here. He was just trying to get us to use the instrument, right?
Just make a shape, make a chord, yeah.
So, and with that, my very first introduction to guitar was never with a pick.
Yeah.
So my very first introduction with guitar was finger picking, which is something that I'm still very comfortable with. Like I'm even a pinky picker, and
that's interesting because when you're doing classical, I have a little bit of a classical background. So on your right hand, if you're a right-handed player, so it's
Pima.
Pima. So PM,
PIMA.
Yeah, MMA, but not the pinky.
Yeah, and so but the pinky is actually a somewhat recent thing. I've been working on hybrid picking.
Oh wow!
So I mean, sounds fancy, but it's essentially listeners, please correct me if I'm using the right terminology. But it's essentially like you don't let go of your pick,
yeah,
and you finger pick with the remaining 3 fingers.
Yeah.
So your pinky now becomes your ring finger, and it's a bitch because this thing never you don't know to use it for anything.
Dude, look at the length difference.
Oh my god!
Look at the length difference between.
Okay, no, like yours is just freaky.
You can check that. Like this,
there's a whole phalange missing.
De-evolved. Yeah, because so the right hand, my left hand's pinky because of chords is the pinky is much. My other fingers are same length, but because none of them are working, the other pinky didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fucking short. You can
check that. Oh my god, that is so funny. You should put that up online.
Totally. Yeah, but it is freaky. You know, it's like my mom took out some insurance on my hands when she saw when she checked that I was making music, and I was like, one time I was broke. I was like, Mom, bring that axe. Let's just chop off this one and we can claim. And my mom was like, No, don't do that.
Axe. It's like your mom brings out the SG. Okay.
but I can also think if you're playing like flamenco stuff, and so my cousin Rian from Crimson House, like he plays.
Are you guys related?
Yeah, that's my cousin. Yeah,
yeah. And he's awesome. I love Rian.
Yeah, he's coming in on Saturday for a podcast as well. His second one. So he plays a lot of flamenco stuff with his hands.
Yeah,
he's also he doesn't really use a pick. So a lot of thumb and like rhythmic stuff with the fingers.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And I can check him using, because when you strike the strings with those 4 nails of the 4 fingers, you can check every finger is being used.
Yeah.
So but also like keeping the pick and then picking with the other ones, that is a crazy technique. I want to check that.
It's I think one of the things that sort of turned me on to that was it's essentially like you could string skip just using your pick.
Yeah.
Or it's a shortcut, like you don't need to have your pick jump so far, and you just start using your finger picking with your pick. Now that's a whole new ballgame, because now you're doing 2 things that you used to separate, at least with me, before, and now you're sort of like, oh, I can't let go of this, and anyway.
Yeah, it's a very cool, unique
but in
technique.
chicken picking, like you wanna like sort of have the freedom to go pick higher notes and higher strings, but not actually be doing much of a stretch. So I'm not that proficient with it, but it's enough to now me like just keep wanting to do it. And I'm also starting to implement it on the bass, and it's not because I mean, Jesus, I'm going off on a tangent.
That's what we do in a podcast.
Exactly.
Jamal. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
It's for tangents.
The bass, and we can get into that just now, but the bass, I started off the bass with a pick. The guitar was finger style and then migrated to pick and now a mixture of both. With bass, it was the pick.
Yeah.
And why the bass and why the pick?
Green Day?
No. Okay, so I already had a lot of respect for the bass, but like I think the very first time I was made aware of how powerful, and again, I don't think I'm doing this justice, but how powerful it was made aware to me that a bass can be, and I was deceived into it, and I'll explain. It was 2005.
Yeah.
I had just come back from my practical year in Portugal. In architecture, you do 3 years and do practical year, and then you do a couple more years. And a friend of mine had come back, and he had brought so much new music, like so much indie music, like Block Party, Interpol, and You Shall Know Us by the Trail of Dead, like that sort of mid 2000s insane boom of incredibly good indie rock music that did
probably Killers as well.
Like you name it, it's there.
Yeah.
Was it? There was a band called VHS or Beta, TV on the Radio.
Strokes, probably.
Strokes, absolutely. Caesars, The Hives. 2005 in mass. It was so good. Like I remember the first time I heard Silent Alarm by Block Party, and I was like, it turned my life around. It's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Okay, noted.
Amongst many, but that one made a huge impression. And then this one band came into the MP3, and I was just like, what the hell am I listening to? What was it? It was the infamous Canadian proto-metal duo Death from Above, 1979.
I've never heard that.
Okay.
I thought when you said...
Fantastic. I'm so happy. I haven't heard it because it definitely will make a good impression on you, I think. But long story short, there's a guy on drums who sings, and there's a guy on bass.
Yeah.
And sometimes a little synth.
And that's like before Royal Blood.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Royal Blood, they themselves say, we took a lot from those two, from Death from Above. DFA 1979, sometimes they refer to. Thing is, when I'm listening to them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, it's massive, it's gigantic, and I'm like, oh my God, how many guitarists in this band?
Yeah.
How many guitarists? Like, there must be like 10 guitarists. Fast forward a couple of months, I catch a video on MTV. It's 2 people. And those 10 guitars is one guy on bass playing through 2 gigantic stacks. And I'm like, okay, hang on a second. Bass can do that?
Yeah.
And then suddenly that was my into the bass. And then suddenly I was like, I need to buy a bass.
Yeah.
And I need to play with a pick because I need to make that sound.
How cool is that?
And fast forward many years, and now I'm I think the bass and the guitar are like toe to toe at all times, but I now have as many basses as I have guitars. And the bass, there's more basses on my wall than there are guitars.
No way.
And
no, because I was wondering, wanting to ask you, like, because you do both, what one do you identify as? If you have to choose like one.
I play both every day.
Yeah, but if you have to say, okay, I'm a guitarist or a bassist, what?
Don't do this to me. Don't make me choose. It's Sophie's choice. Like, what am I doing here?
I laughed at Ricky Gervais going, imagine them making Sophie's choice too. He was like, well, I guess it's the other one then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I chose guitar first, and
may I answer you?
Okay.
For me,
alsjeblieft.
Inderdaad, dat zal ik jou antwoorden. Because I identify you as a bassist.
Okay. I'm happy to be identified
it's just
as a
because
bassist.
my experience of seeing you play music is much more as a bassist.
Yeah, absolutely. The last couple of bands I was in I was a bassist.
Yeah.
So And I've only really been in 3 bands.
Yeah, I want to get to your bands because in school, so you were talking about this this guy who got the kids together, and he tried to make you just play music, you know?
Yeah, just like sort of a blues.
Who was this guy?
It was like same age as my folks. They all hung out socially, and he was just. He had a couple of guitars. Actually, like I didn't even until I got my guitar. No. I already had a guitar, but some kids would pitch up and you would have extra guitars. And they would just be able to play. And that's just sort of, in hindsight, it gave me some really good building blocks, the finger picking thing for starters, as well as knowing how to tune your guitar, even if it's whatever note is on the bottom E at that moment.
Yeah, just to fucking get the thing going.
Like, can you rock up at a, sort of a beach party and tune a guitar and play 3 chords? Yes, I could.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously in school, you're learning all the songs. And then in the meanwhile, now you're also buying CDs, right?
Yeah.
Now you, not only do you have
your Alanis Morissette book.
Yeah, I also have the CD and the Oasis CD.
Yeah.
Funny enough, my very first Nirvana CD, because we couldn't, there was no way of buying CDs in Maputo back then.
Yeah.
There was one shop in Maputo, and it had, interestingly enough, it had one Slayer album and it had a Cooler Shaker album, which I bought. Love that first album, but it just ended up being that we could only buy music whenever we came to South Africa, which was once every 3 months, because Joburg is very close to Maputo.
And now also your dad has to choose between, is he buying you a musical instrument, is he buying you a game, or is he buying,
Games were out of, soon after that, they were gone. But my very first Nirvana album was Bleach.
Bleach, yes. Which was the first album.
Absolutely. And again, a great building block, in a sense, because we all, at that point, we knew Nevermind inside out, we could all sing.
Funny enough, because I'm also from a small town, the first one I heard was Unplugged, which was the last recording. And then soon after, 2 weeks later, a buddy of mine got the Bleach album, and I was blown away.
The shock must have been insane.
Yeah, because About a Girl, the golden thread runs through.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like the beginning and the end, and I didn't have a Nietzsche, I didn't have Nevermind. I wasn't even aware of Nevermind.
Okay.
I was only aware of Unplugged. But hearing About a Girl being played acoustic and electric, on those 2 albums, it blew everything right open,
Especially I can only imagine, because, Bleach is, I remember getting it at the CD store, and that's the only album they had. And I was like, I'm not leaving Joburg without a Nirvana album, be it what it has to be, because I already had Unplugged on a tape. So now I need to get another one. There's no Nevermind. There's no Incesticide.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be Bleach.
Remember the muddy banks of the Wushka?
Wushka, which obviously came much later. And I remember getting home and being like, oh, I know About a Girl.
Yeah.
And then you start playing the album. And it's like Floyd the Barber.
Yeah. School.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the soundtrack to a horror movie sometimes.
And then Love Buzz, which is this which is actually a cover from a fucking Dutch band.
Exactly.
And I've found that out in my adult years for the first time. I was like, geez, listen to this Eastern fucking vibe. And hearing Offspring, and I thought, Offspring totally, they nicked that from Nirvana. Meantime, absolutely. Nirvana is covering a fucking Dutch band. That's a fascinating, underrated. How's that for a fucking debut album?
And it's one of the reasons why it was such a great building block, because it primed me for listening to very harsh music after that. And I do have a soft spot for really grimy, quote unquote, ugly sounding music, because and don't get me wrong, in the same breath I'm listening to a Parcel song, and it's the smoothest funk disco thing that like I love that. Like give me Jamiroquai, but then I don't know if you know a band called Thou.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Thou they're a sludge doom band from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen to them and you think, oh, these are, they're in corpse paint and it's leather. And no. They look like grunge kids.
Yeah.
But the music is so heavy and the vocals are so, it's quite extreme. And it's not for the faint of heart. Funny enough, Thou made a full album of cover of Nirvana songs.
Oh, wow. A full album.
Yeah. Of like,
I love it when people do that.
And they picked a lot of Bleach songs, funny enough. And it works like a charm. If you thought Bleach was ugly and heavy, like times it by 10. And that's the Thou.
Fuck.
So
I think the people who are into music right now listening, because this is a reason why I also wanted to have you on the podcast, is your music knowledge of obscure and awesome and so far out like albums. Every time I talk to you, you put me onto something new, and I think those music geeks listening to the podcast, there's a few. I think they're making notes now, which is great. So Thou, they fucking put out a whole like Nirvana cover album
from songs from every album except maybe because it's like I said, it's the harder, uglier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, they do Something in the Way.
Oh yes,
and it does a little Nirvana Pixies trick, which is like verse like so ASMR-y.
Yes.
And then when it comes into the chorus, it's just like
underneath the bridge.
And then when it comes into the chorus, they like open the door and it's just like the lowest down-tuned, most distorted band, like backed up by like shrieking goblin vocals.
That's a soundbite.
and it's amazing. It's amazing. And so they don't do anything from Unplugged, or they don't do The Man Who Sold the World, even though that's a Bowie track. They don't. So they focus on Bleach. There's a couple from Nevermind, and I think maybe one. Yeah.
Something
even
in the way
in his youth,
Nevermind, yeah.
Even in his youth, that's from Incesticide, I think, or was a B-side. Great song. Anyway, so Bleach was a great sort of building block for sort of my listening tastes, I guess.
And your first band, were you in school when you joined a band?
We made a high school band.
Yes, tell me about that band.
Okay, we were so shit. Oh my God. But we were very... Sorry, excuse me. That's the thing with your first band. You don't know how limited you are, but then again, you don't know what the limits are. So the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
And there was like a trend in Maputo at that time because the listening was so eclectic.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a Portuguese band that's still active today called Primitive Reason.
Mm-hmm.
Their first album, Alternative Prison, which took a lot of notes from the Mr. Bungle songbook.
Fuck, Mr. Bungle is way out.
So Primitive Reason, they could be like, they could do like 2 bars of a circus bit into sort of a death metal bit into a dub reggae bit. So there was like a trend in Maputo where we're all like, oh, and obviously nu metal was like, it was the peak of nu metal. This is like mid-90s, late 90s. And so it wasn't too weird to like, okay, simple nu metal would be hip-hop and metal.
Yeah.
Right?
Almost like a Limp Bizkit kind of thing.
Exactly. But then you also had Static X, which was like techno, like sort of transcore.
Like a Nine Inch Nails kind of thing almost.
Yeah. Exactly. And then you had... it wasn't my favorite band, but they were huge in nu metal, which was Stained. Stained were like a little bit more emo, grungy, saddy, sappy at times.
No, if Evanescence is the ladies' bathroom, then Stained is the male.
Your words, not mine, sir. But you know what I'm saying? So it was quite eclectic.
Yeah.
And so that first band, which was called, and I'll say it. It was a word. It's a word that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
We called it Squamb.
Squamb. How do you spell that? SQ.
It changed SKUAMB, and it was like a sort of we're just corrupting a word, and
almost like scum and swamp.
Well, it was something you'd call like, again, my memory fails me, but it's something. It was like sort of a slang insult you could call someone, like a bitch, you know, it was something along those lines. And we're like, oh, so edgy, we'll call ourselves, but we'll use the local slang, so nah. And it was 2 guitars, bass, drums, and vocal.
2 guitars, bass, drums, and vocal. And what did you do? Play guitar or bass?
Play guitar. Yeah, played
okay.
guitar.
At that stage, you had electric.
Yeah, I had a Jackson PS2 with the Floyd Rose, which I still do have.
That's
and I was playing
guitar, bro.
Dude, that guitar is now like 30 years old.
Insane.
So, do I have a vintage guitar?
Yes, you do.
And it's a Jackson Super Strat humbucker single with a Floyd Rose in fine purple sparkle, sir.
Yo. And is it like a Loctite tuners?
Absolutely. 24 frets, pointy headstock, can take out an eye with that thing. But we were trying to do ska metal, does this sound like a jazz chord? Maybe it does, because it doesn't sound like any of the other chords. So that first band, even though like we didn't have great songs, and the songs.
Yo, who wrote the songs?
We all wrote the songs, because at that point, that's the other thing with your first band. It has to be democratic, right?
Yeah, of course.
And we come to learn as we play our gigs and we arrange other bands that actually, and I this is not an expression of mine, and it was applied in architecture, someone I worked with, which is like, you can have a joint venture with, people collaborating to work on something, but every project needs a father. This was an older gentleman who said this.
That's a very...
it's a wise thing to say.
It's a very wise thing to say, yeah.
And goes straight to the point. And it goes straight, it's like, we're all in this together. But someone needs to be running this.
For a democracy, it's a very diplomatic thing to say as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like if we still need to have a captain on the field.
Absolutely.
That's
exactly what it is. So we come to find out that, none of us were the captain. So the songs... But then that was also the fun thing of it. It's like, we could do this, and then we could do this, and then we could do this, and then we could do this. And our singer, he had this thing where he didn't really... His thing was like, no, man, I'm more into like a Jim Morrison vibe. So I'm just going to like... These are like poems, right? I'm just going to...
Before you slip into unconsciousness.
But that's got a melody line.
Yeah.
This guy, he was just like, no, I'm just going to... Like, we would, as the instrumentalists, we would play the songs as we had written them, but he always sang them differently. So there was also that thing. He didn't sound like Jim, but he was like, it was a little mumble, a little,
little recital, kind of,
a little thing,
exactly,
a little spoken. But then if the chorus happened, he would do that one sound and.
Are you still friends with
with all of them? I mean, I'm not friends, but I haven't spoken to the one guy in a long time because he moved away to.
No, but I mean, you're still in contact with with the members of Squamp.
Absolutely. And
that's so cool.
There's the one guy that I speak with, the other guitarist. Quite frequently. He eventually went to study sound in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He is studio whiz.
What did he play in Squamp?
He played guitar. Oh, and dude, he had... So his father was a musician as well.
Okay.
His father had like... his main thing was keys. His father had like... I don't know, like 12 keyboards at home. And like a mini grand... Like in the living room, but like a sort of a portable mini grand. So this guy, he was also like a touring musician before he moved to Mozambique. Anyway, and so my friend, he ended up inheriting sort of a lawsuit era Les Paul Ibanez copy.
Oh yes,
light as a feather.
Yeah,
I don't how they did it, and he put like 2 DiMarzio super distortions in it. Dude, probably one of the best Les Pauls I've ever played.
Yeah.
And it's not even a Gibson. Or
those lawsuit guitars are fucking spectacular.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're looking at one right here.
Yeah.
Like one of very few.
Yeah.
And then he also had an Epiphone Sheraton.
A Sheraton.
It's like the shape of a 335.
Oh yeah, like a big bottom, like a Chuck Berry guitar. Yeah,
absolutely. Natural finish. Like it was. Oh my God, just beautiful. So, and then he became like someone I would learn. We would learn with each other.
Yeah.
Like we would buy all
What's
the
his
guitar.
name?
His name is Renato.
Renato.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we learned a lot together. We're like we're still big music chums.
And the other thing is also with you is, and please don't take this the wrong way.
I will.
No, you won't. Hoe sê dan Afrikaans? Jou vel is nie so dun nie. You've got thicker skin than that. From a lot of people that I know, you are one of the coolest geek guys when it comes to music instruments and pickups and tones and pedals and gear and stuff like that. So
I do annoy a lot of people.
Well, they can go fuck themselves because I enjoy you very, very much,
Thank you.
In a social setting and even in a professional podcast setting, geeking out and stuff like that, because that's a side and that's a part of myself that I sometimes I push it back and I don't like live it out.
Okay.
But I'm also a geek,
Yeah, I can tell. Like I'm sitting here in your flat. I mean, there's a few nice guitars around.
I was wondering with Renato, did you guys was that like your first geek buddy that you geeked out on guitars and gear and stuff?
Well, and especially because I mean we're like two things. We're in the same class.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time together in school. We're listening to the same music. Our parents, they know each other.
You're in the same band?
We're in the same band. He had he had all these beautiful guitars. His home was like really musical, as was my home. And then we liked all the fucking same silly stuff, like Wayne's World and all the whatever teens and to this day, like we still on WhatsApp every once in a while, like he'll just send me something. And it's like, what do you think of this? Or I'll send him something. Oh, check this out. Or like I'll record a riff and I'll send it his way. And then like it's happened a couple of times where I just find a riff and I'm just like, oh, this is great. I'm just going to send it to him. In a way, it gets recorded and put in a sort of a memory box, but also someone gets to hear it. And a couple of times he comes back to me. He's put like a drum beat over it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
And it's like, oh, yeah. And we're always dreaming like, we're going to do this thing. But
what I always try to explain to people who are not part of bands and people who don't make music, because they would usually ask you stuff like how cool is it playing in a band, and for all the obvious reasons, there's so many perks, and there's some downsides as well. But one of the coolest things for me is exactly that, what you're telling me right now, is having a friend that plays music and being part of a band. That's like a friendship 2.0.
Absolutely,
because it's this
close to brothers.
Yeah, you've got this. You're locked in as brothers, but then you've got this other thing. Like up until this day, you still send him riffs or stuff,
Absolutely.
and that comes from like school days.
Absolutely,
so if you've got fuck all in common anymore, doesn't matter how many times you got married and divorced, or how many kids you have, or whatever, you can still send that guy a riff, and he'll reply with a drum beat or a harmony or a lyric idea or what have you. And that's the coolest thing about bands. But going forward, like what was the end of Squamp? Like what happened to that band?
So obviously high school ended.
Yeah.
And I mean did
you guys play any gigs?
We played a handful. We played a couple of backyard gigs. We played a couple of there was like a couple of small clubs. We must have we might not even played more than 10 gigs, to be fair.
Well, that's a lot for a high school band.
I mean, okay, you're absolutely right. Of course, years later, you're like, Jesus, 10 gigs, get your ears wet,
Yeah, I haven't played 10 gigs in 2 years in my own band.
Really?
No, I'm just joking. Well,
I mean, the past 5 years have been touch and go.
Yeah.
I mean, if I think about it, I haven't played more than 10 gigs in the past 5 years.
Yeah, but think about it like in a high school band, 10 gigs is quite a lot.
It is. And if you have 10 gigs under your belt, you're like, man, I've I've played some shows. I'm in a band. I'm a musician.
We're going to Sun City, man, bro.
I'm a musician. What do you
Yes.
do? I'm in a band. You can say I'm in a band, you know.
Okay, so that was your high school band, and while in high school, where did the architecture thing come about? Like, so did you know you wanted to go study that?
Not really. I didn't, to be fair, I'd always been, again, one of the things that I was blessed with was, like I said, at home, we had a lot of music, and there was a lot of books, and by default, there was a lot of art. Not only because my dad would buy, countless books on art, this and that, but my dad also collected Mozambican art. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a collector. My dad loves art, and Maputo has got, as far as like the like painting and sculpture and sort of, there's so many mediums that are explored.
Yeah.
And inevitably, my dad would just, Maputo is quite small. He would go to the Art Nucleus, which was a club where the artists would gather and paint and then exhibit.
Yeah.
And maybe someone would buy something. It wasn't to make money. It was like literally people there because they had to create. So my dad would buy so much art. And
he's
so
also a patron, obviously.
Absolutely. So I grew up like, and not a lot of kids can say this. And of course, we're not rotating Mondrians and we're not rotating Picassos. But it's nice to be in a house where every once in a while you come in, it's like, oh, it's the other paintings. Because my dad was like, no, put these in storage and I'm going to get and put these on. And everything from like large canvases to smaller pieces, watercolors to oils or acrylics or China ink or this and that.
Yeah, he knew his shit, So and he stayed current with what was going on in the scene.
Absolutely,
that's fucking cool.
And like inevitably, like years later, he's got this small storage space in Maputo, and I don't know, it's like north of 500 works.
Wow. He's full on a collector.
He is. If anything, I almost want to, because a lot of these artists, though the works are beautiful, they're unknown. So if anything, my dad is more like sort of I want to say more of an historian and sort of someone who's preserved, obviously for his own pleasure, because we grew up like surrounded by these works. Where was I going with the art, with the painting?
No, because I asked you if you knew that you were going to study architecture.
So, architecture and art, excuse me, and music. So the arts were always a big focus. Like we lived in several houses in Maputo because my folks would rather rent because there were a lot of... Maputo was... in a way, a ghost city left behind by the Portuguese when they left. It was mostly built. Most of what is built in the core of Maputo is still part of that colonial era.
Yeah.
So Maputo, architecturally, is incredibly rich. Like, it's insane. Like, you walk around, there's a lot of dilapidated stuff, some modern stuff. But the old stuff, some of the people that designed and built in Mozambique are renowned worldwide. And every house we'd move into, like a lot of the houses were like, it was beautiful architecture. So inevitably it was a point of conversation. It's like, oh, you guys moved into that house. Oh, by that architect. But going to your question,
point to the order of architecture.
Sorry,
sorry for that pun. I just had to do it.
Well, I'm glad you did it. I was going to do it, but I was in the middle of something. And so when, by the end of high school, you sort of select, in grade 10, you select a bunch of subjects which specialize you.
Yes.
And I went towards the one that would take me into design. So it was either industrial design or architecture. And we had an industrial design class, which that really sort of opened my eyes to like, oh, I love drawing and I love all that stuff, but here's something where I can apply, and there's an actual fruit to a labor that it goes beyond just art on a wall. and it's, you can use it, and it's design based.
And also you had an aptitude for that, obviously.
I did, and I really enjoyed drawing, and it served me well. And my dad kind of pushed me because, to be fair, like I spoke to him, and I was like, I'm not sure. And then I said, maybe studying music. And my dad, he, bless him, and I love him for it. It doesn't apply to everyone. I'm very fortunate. He could see it. He could see it better than I could.
Yeah.
Or like studying music is obviously something amazing, something that my dad would support. But like any parents, like, you want to be a musician?
Yeah.
I want to be a musician. You don't want to be a musician. You should do something. You should do. Because my dad was very diplomatic, and he was like,
on that topic, I think one of the only, maybe one of 2 or 3 people that I spoke to on the podcast, like Hugo Veldsman.
yeah.
Like, because I spoke to him recently, I think he's one of the only people that I've interviewed that actually went to go study music.
Okay.
So for him it was this decision, and he felt strong about it, and he went to go execute it. It's not like our drummer in our band in the Toffees, Etienne now.
Yeah.
Etienne is a madman, okay? And Etienne also went to go study like fucking music at the university.
Right, I didn't know that.
But he also went for a year.
Right.
He would usually say, yeah, but I studied music. I'm like, Etienne, you fucking partied at Mystic Bird for like 8 months. And then, but so doing
He's
that
doing the
is
classic Berkeley thing. I went to Berkeley for a semester.
Exactly. And, but it's, and also it's fucking daunting, just because you can play music doesn't mean you should go study fucking music,
I think I could have run the risk of, starting to hate music if I had done that, to be fair.
And that's also a big risk, because that would kill your love for music. And I spoke to a few fine artists on the podcast, and studying fucking art, like Christian, for instance, it killed it for him.
Yeah.
So, and now he's making much more art than he would have made if he continued, or well, it's not a fucking equation like that, but yes, like those specialized fields, like if you want to go there, you have to fucking go there.
Exactly. And it's no joke. It's a rush to the top. You have to be the very, and this is not to say that you shouldn't try and be the best you can be in anything that you do, but with those sort of disciplines, music, like for instance at UCT, you either do classical or you do jazz.
I like the fact that you point out discipline, because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not a course. It's not like
you don't fuck around.
Yeah, it's not like multimedia studies with a little bit of IT and a little bit of Coral Draw or shit like that.
No.
It's a fucking discipline.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
you have to know your shit.
It's so extensive. I mean, anyway. So my dad was like, consider architecture, and it was actually for the best. It was so I thought maybe I'll do it in Portugal, because I mean that's the current country of my birth, and I thought maybe I'll do it over there. And then I came to visit UCT, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I think Cape Town is pretty cool. Lisbon is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Lisbon is, especially Portugal is now riding like this insane popularity way. But Portugal is a fantastic country for architecture, for music, for culture, for art, for the sciences. It's like, for a tiny country, it does a lot. But I found myself in Cape Town, and at that time, there was quite a bit of sort of a lot of Mozambican people were at UCT and around studying all sorts of things. There were a couple that were studying architecture. There was a bunch in the humanities departments, a couple in the, like, everywhere. So I was like, I could go to Portugal, sure. but there's something cool happening here in Cape Town. And there's like a Mozambican thing, and I know a lot of these people. So it felt familiar. And South Africa was already way more familiar than Portugal, though I can speak the language.
At that stage, were you more familiar with Johannesburg because of Maputo being a little bit more closer?
Absolutely.
So
I knew way more of Joburg than I knew of Cape Town. I had only been in Cape Town prior to 2000 once, and it was in 93.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah. Actually, it was in 93 that I had, in a conversation with my folks, I was like, if I ever had to live in South Africa, I don't want to live in Joburg. I'd live in Cape Town. And we stayed, I remember this, we stayed in I'm pointing in that direction, but that's not the direction. For your listeners, I'm just pointing out the window thinking I'm pointing at Bloberg, but I'm not pointing at Bloberg.
I think Bloberg is now I'm pointing.
Yeah, it's whatever that direction is. And we were in Bloberg.
Yeah.
In, what's that beautiful island that's... you know what the thing I'm talking about? It's got little pontoons that go out. Anyway, we could see Table Mountain in the distance, and it was just magical. It was a New Year's. Anyway, so at that point, I was way more familiar with Joburg than with Cape Town, and I was also well aware that Cape Town was way safer. I mean, in the CBD, in the sort of close suburbs like Rondebosch, Rosebank.
Dude, like it was a mind fuck. Okay, going where I'm from, Ladysmith. Okay, and if you go to Cape Town is actually like a fucking town. Okay?
Yeah.
If you go to Joburg, that is like city.
No,
okay,
that's a metropole. That's
a metropole. Okay, like Cape Town's got like Long Street, Breer Street. That's like it's got the same amount of streets in my little town almost. You know, it's got much more traffic.
You have main road. You have main road.
Yeah, but where Joburg it's a whole different movie. And so you were much more like lured towards Cape Town.
Yeah. Also, when I had that sort of 2000 visit that I did, so Mozambique's got...
that was when you were matric, right?
As I had just finished, you know. Yeah. So I was, you know, just moving around, and just before the year started in 2001, try and see which university I would choose.
Yeah.
And when I arrived, a friend of mine was like, there's this jazz show at the Kirstenbosch Gardens.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And one of the musicians is a very famous Mozambican musician who's been an expat of South Africa for the majority of his life. He's one of the Paco brothers. So there's like 3 Paco brothers, and the one is a drummer, and there's a couple of percussionists. They're really in the jazz scene. They're like, if you drop the name Paco, they're like, which one? And they know exactly what you're talking about. And they have a sister who's a theater actress in Mozambique, who I grew up watching. Just a small parenthesis here. We didn't have movies or malls in Maputo growing up, but we had theater. So on the weekend, we'd go watch theater.
That's fucking cool. That's like acoustic movies.
You know, it's like 4D. Like we were way ahead of the curve.
With real people.
You could touch it. You could smell them if you really tried.
You can go and meet them afterwards.
You know. So,
but how cool is that? Having that part of your upbringing. So it sounds like your upbringing in Mozambique sounds much more culturally rich than any other kid from fucking South Africa. If you think about it. When it comes to the art, the music, theater.
My folks, I think my folks, they went the extra mile to make sure that we weren't like sort of rotting in our brains. Yeah. Like and just making sure. And I think traveling to South Africa, that's like learning English, something that I did like from an early age. Like, and I used to think, oh no, all Portuguese people can speak English as well as I do. And then you get to Portugal, it's like, oh my God. But they can speak Spanish and French pretty, with a relative ease.
Yeah, but it for me was a mindfuck going to Europe and realizing how many Europeans are not that proficient in English. And you would assume that English being the lingua franca, like the medium for people just to converse. It's like I was amazed at how bad people in the Netherlands. Like some of the English people, they're like they even same with France,
well, the French don't want to speak English. They kind of like
same with the Spanish, and that's just people I meet. I don't want to overgeneralize, but being bilingual proficient in 2 languages. Obviously, your mother tongue is Portuguese, and English is your second language. And now also from hanging in South Africa, and what I found out today, and I didn't know this about you, is you came to South Africa full time, like after school.
Yeah.
You know, so even Afrikaans for you, and I know you can pick up on a little bit of Afrikaans.
Yeah, tidbits.
So it's a fascinating upbringing, you know, because my sister's daughter, she grew up here in South Africa, but at a younger age they moved to Kenya and then to the Netherlands, so she can speak a little bit of Swahili,
Right.
and she can speak. She had Xhosa in school, and she can speak Dutch.
Yeah.
You know, and she can speak a little bit of Spanish as well because she went to the international school.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating to see how languages, you know, my only frame of reference, because you're Portuguese, is we had a Portuguese family move from, I think they moved from Pretoria to Ladysmith, but they've got a crazy story. We used to call them the Porras, which is very derogatory. And they totally went with it. So they had an Afrikaans father and they had a Portuguese mom,
Right.
Mama Dora. So 3 sisters, Helena, America, and Anissa. And Anissa, she, you know, Jacques and Annabeth?
Yeah.
So it's basically their neighbors in Malmesbury. Anissa and Tools, that's the Dominie's son. They got married, so they live in Malmesbury. So Anissa was the youngest, and then America, Kika, she was in my class, and then we had Elena. So, and all 3 of them could speak English, Afrikaans, Portuguese, Italian, and Spanish.
Oh.
And so,
Wow.
so imagine getting these 3 kids in Ladysmith, and you're like, whoa! And then like obviously them being Portuguese, that takes the, you know, that's their main language, and they can do all these other things. They were like our first international people that were like, whoa, you can do that, and that, you know.
Yeah.
And by the sounds of it, it sounds like you can do the same, you know, because you've got all this different. You've got such a unique upbringing if you think about it.
I think so. I think if we go on the languages tangent, I've got 2 great advantages here. And they're kind of obvious, but I think it's worth pointing out. Because I started learning English very early, and by definition, coming to South Africa, for instance, if you put an Afrikaans text in front of me, I can read it for you. But I probably can only understand 30% of what's happening there. All this to say that suddenly, like, I was getting, my brain was getting 2 sorts of grammar. Grammar which is Latin-based, so Portuguese and Spanish and French and Italian, and funny enough, Romanian.
Yeah.
They speak to each other. Like, I took a little bit of French in school.
Yeah, but they're also part of the Germanic base as well.
And then, on the other hand, with English and Afrikaans, suddenly Dutch and German, and to a very small degree, I'm not pretending I can speak these languages, but like you can start sort of to make out how this gets put together and how that gets put together. Yeah. And it's what you say. It's like it does wonders for one's brain.
Totally.
Because suddenly
it fires on different pistons. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm a huge, like, I really dig languages. And
before we go into Cape Town now with your travels, I was just wondering, like, Portuguese, the difference between Brazilian Portuguese.
Okay, so technically it's the same language.
Yeah.
If you put a text in front of either peoples, they'd be able to read it.
Yeah.
Having said that, very much like any country, the slang varies so much from north to south. Portugal is a tiny country, and there's some regions where even some Portuguese people from Lisbon, like, I don't quite get what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's really thick and dense, and like they have their own words. So that's Portugal. And now you go to Brazil, which is like
a whole different country.
It's like 20 times larger, if not more. It's the biggest country in South America. So from north to south, it's like the richness in accents, and I've
the idiolects and the dialects in that country must be so diverse.
And I've met
Portuguese.
a lot of Brazilian people from different parts of Brazil, and it's so funny. I think the biggest point to, or the biggest way to sort of describe the relationship between these the language in these two people. It's a little bit how the British and the American relate to each other. And I'll get more into that, or the French and the Quebecois. So what happens in the old world? The quote unquote the language is more properly spoken, or it's more old school.
Yes.
So both the Brits, and I can tell that because I've watched a ton of sort of British television because of DSTV. Thank you. And obviously we've all grown up with American television. So the Brits speak more proper, perhaps better grammar. The diction is something completely different. And even in the way they speak, the Brits can shorten a sentence to almost nothing. And the Americans can do it as well. But whereas the British some syllables become invisible. The Americans are very good with their syllables, generally speaking. You know what I'm saying? Whereas maybe the Brits do that and they sort of crunch it up. The same with the Portuguese.
Yeah.
We are like, you could almost say the Portuguese are a bit more verbose than the Brazilians. And in a way, the Brazilians could say, no, we just, like, you guys are just wasting time.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say the Brazilians are like the Americans and the Portuguese are like the Brits. It's more like old world and new world.
That's just the model to explain, like, there's this, there is a difference. It's the same with speaking Afrikaans here from Cape Town or from a small rural town in comparison with speaking Afrikaans in Pretoria.
Like maybe Afrikaans in Namibia is like way more roots and old school.
And that sounds a little bit more harsh, but actually the vocabulary is much more rich.
Yeah.
It's the differences are so specific actually, but I think where it becomes more specific for my question that I'm asking you is, I just wanted to know, is it crazily different, from like,
I think maybe the Brazilians would say so. Like the other way around.
The Brazilians would say so, not the Portuguese.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Portugal has been consuming a lot of Brazilian culture for decades. So one of the biggest exports culturally that Brazil has is the telenovela, the soapy.
Oh yes.
So I grew up watching Brazilian soapies, like from like an infant age. And so have all the Portuguese people, as well as like most of my friends growing up in Mozambique.
Yeah.
So we are like, and obviously the soapies, they show people from Rio, people from Bahia, people from the north, people from the south, people from the coast. And so you get exposed to all these accents. And fair enough, it's make-believe. That's not real Brazil. These are stories told in soapy format. But we know way more colloquialisms and slangs and slogans, I guess, from the Brazil side than the Brazilians know from our side.
It's insane what impact pop culture can make, or just like television culture,
huge.
On a language. That it's fascinating. Right, jy dit. My eerste deel van my gesprek met João Luis Lança Henriques. Skakel asseblief volgende week in vir deel 2. Ek hoop jy het dit geniet en dankie dat jy ingeskakel het. En onthou, as jy vir my in die Wat podcast wil ondersteun, gebruik die PayPal link in die episode description of gaan sommer net na watpod.podbean.com as jy straight 'n EFT wil skiet. Nou maar toe. Wees veilig en ek check jou volgende week. Bye.